Hello, and welcome to Excellence English, your go-to podcast for leveling up your English language skills. I'm James, your friendly English mentor.
And I'm Sophia, your co-host who's still learning new things about English every day. Whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced learner, we're here to help you improve in fun and practical ways.
Today we're diving into all the essentials for improving English, from vocabulary and pronunciation to grammar and real-life usage.
Plus, we'll be sharing tips, stories, and activities that you can do right now to boost your skills. So grab your notebook or just sit back and listen. Let's get started.
Sophia, one of the first things people ask when learning a language is how to expand their vocabulary. What's your favorite method?
I'd say reading. Whether it's books, articles, or even social media posts, you come across so many new words. What about you?
Absolutely. Reading is fantastic. But here's a tip for our listeners. Don't just read passively. Keep a vocabulary journal. Whenever you encounter a new word, write it down with its meaning, part of speech, and an example sentence.
Oh, that's a good idea. I also like to group similar words together. For example, if you're learning the word happy, you can add synonyms like joyful, cheerful, and content.
Great point. And don't forget about antonyms. Knowing opposites like sad or miserable helps create a stronger mental network.
What about apps? There are so many vocabulary apps now like Anki or Quizlet.
Yes, apps are brilliant for spaced repetition, which helps you remember words over time. And for those who like gamification, apps like Duolingo make learning a bit more fun.
I've also heard about flashcards. Do you recommend making physical ones?
Totally. Physical flashcards can be just as effective as digital ones, especially if you're someone who learns by writing.
Okay, James, let's talk pronunciation. A lot of learners struggle with this. What's your advice?
Start by listening closely. Podcasts like this one, audiobooks, or even YouTube videos are great resources. Pay attention to how native speakers pronounce words.
Oh, and shadowing. That's one of my favorite techniques.
Yes, shadowing is when you repeat what a speaker says, mimicking their rhythm, tone, and pronunciation.
I do that with my favorite TV shows. I pause after each line and try to repeat it exactly.
That's perfect practice. And don't forget tongue twisters. They're a fun way to improve articulation.
Like, she sells seashells by the seashore.
Exactly. Here's another. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
Oh no, that's a tough one.
It's tricky, but practicing these helps with clarity and speed.
James, grammar can feel overwhelming for so many learners. How can they tackle it without feeling intimidated?
Start small. Focus on one topic at a time, like tenses, articles, or prepositions. Trying to master everything at once can be overwhelming.
I agree. I struggled with prepositions like when to use in, on, or at.
That's a common challenge. The key is practice and exposure. For example, learn collocations like in the morning, on the table, and at night.
And don't be afraid to make mistakes. Every mistake is an opportunity to learn.
Absolutely. One more tip, use grammar exercises from books or online resources. Sites like Grammarly or Khan Academy have great tools.
Now let's talk about real-world application. How can learners practice English outside the classroom?
One word, immersion. Surround yourself with English as much as possible. Change your phone's language settings. Watch English movies or even join online communities.
Yes, I joined a language exchange app where I can chat with native speakers. It's so helpful.
That's a fantastic way to practice conversational skills. And for those who are shy, writing can be a good starting point.
Like journaling in English, I also recommend recording yourself. It's a bit awkward at first, but it helps you notice pronunciation and grammar mistakes.
Exactly. Write about your day, your thoughts, or even fictional stories. And don't forget to celebrate small wins. Every time you have a conversation or write something in English, you're improving.
Before we wrap up, let's answer a couple of listener questions.
Great idea. Here's one. How can I stop translating in my head and start thinking in English?
Oh, that's a good one. I'd say start with simple things, like naming objects around you in English.
Yes, and try to form basic sentences in your mind throughout the day. For example, instead of thinking tengo hambre, think I am hungry.
Here's another question. What's the best way to improve listening skills?
Listen to a variety of accents and speeds. Don't just stick to one. Podcasts, movies, and audiobooks are great, but make sure to challenge yourself with faster dialogues.
And don't worry if you don't understand everything. Focus on the context and the main ideas.
That's all for today's episode of English Boost. We hope you found these tips useful and are ready to put them into practice.
Remember, improving your English is a journey. Be patient and consistent, and you'll see progress.
Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more episodes. See you next time.
Bye for now, and happy learning.